Are you part of the nearly 50% of Americans who, because of the coronavirus, are reassessing their relationship with work, according to CNBC? In October, the Labor Department's job openings and labor turnover summary suggested that roughly 4 million Americans are quitting their jobs each month, in a trend commonly referred to as the Great Resignation. And the number one reason why is greater flexibility and freedom, according to CNBC. Peter Strohkorb is an international entrepreneur and business owner who spent more than 20 years in the corporate world environment, and he grew tired of the corporate world and the politics associated with that, and he found that he could be more effective on his own. He also discovered inward-looking product selling approaches were failing to achieve the desired results, so he took matters into his own hands and used his experience and expertise to launch his own business where he gives people the power to discover their sales potential. He joined me this week to have a conversation about effective entrepreneurship, sales, and succeeding in business. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Absolutely. So, Peter, if you're ready, I'll welcome you to the program. And I'm excited to learn all about your time in business and what keeps you busy and helping people in the space. Great to see you this afternoon, or I guess for you it would be morning. So it's great to see you today, and thank you so very much for being here.
Thanks, Kevin, for having me on your show. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Peter, before we dive into your business background and how you help people, I'm curious if you could give me a 360-degree view of your life, both personally and professionally, and sort of where you got to where you are today.
Okay, so have you got several hours to do that?
I'll go pop some popcorn and come back. How about that?
Now, look, I've professionally, I've spent more than 20 years in the corporate world. Before I couldn't stand the backstabbing politics and committee decision making any longer, and I started my own business simply because I felt that with my expertise and my gained know-how, I could help organizations to sell more faster, which is now my business motto. So for the last 10 years, I've been helping organizations in the US, in Canada, in Australia, New Zealand, and in the UK to improve their sales framework. That's the way that they sell. And I do that by helping them to stop thinking about what they're selling and how they want to sell it, and instead start thinking about their buyers and how they want to buy. And that is a bit of a mindset shift that I help facilitate through a framework that I teach. Now, personally, I have I'm a married man. I've got 3 kids at home. They're all teenagers. My daughter has just turned 14. She's just gone into the dark side. and my eldest is nearly 20. He's just about to come out of it. So, but it's a bit of a lively household, and lots of debating and stuff going on, especially around future of jobs and education and the usual, as you can imagine.
Yeah, of course, it keeps you young, doesn't it, Peter?
I don't know. I think it makes me old.
Well, young at heart anyway. You can provide some perspective to the new generation, I guess, huh?
Yeah, that's only provided they will listen, Kevin.
Well, that's true, absolutely. So, diving into your experience, you had mentioned that you had more than 20 years in sort of the corporate world, and that you found that the usual inward looking way of product focused selling wasn't really appealing or falling short. So, I'm wondering how you look at the paradigm shift of business today and why it was important for you to sort of come up with an alternative model of helping people sort of sell or meet them where they are.
Yeah, look, that's a great question. Thank you for asking it. So firstly, when I left the corporate sector, I wrote a book, and then I launched earlier this year my second book. It's called Marketing Sell Smarter, Not Harder, and it's available at all good Amazon stores. All right, but the reason that I quit the corporate world and I started my own business was that I felt there was a real shortcoming in the world of selling. And that is that, from the product manager down, everybody gets really fascinated with the products or services that we're selling. And we're then trying to get our customers enthusiastic about what we're selling, but we don't talk about what's in it for them. Why should they be interested? We just say, our product is so great, you just should be interested, and that's really the wrong mindset. So if somebody comes to you, Kevin, and says, we've got this fantastic product, first thing you want to know, well, what does it do for me? Would that be right?
Absolutely. Everybody's an instant gratification society, aren't they?
Well, also you want to know, I'm getting like 10 cold calls a day. I'm getting spammed with emails and they get pitch slapped on LinkedIn. How do I know what is actually worthy of my time and what isn't? And the default is now that I'm saying, look, no matter what you're selling, I'm not interested, which is why it's so important now to not just reach out to your ideal prospects, but to engage with them in a meaningful way, to draw them into a business conversation, to create what I call the lean forward moment where you say, Kevin, that sounds really interesting. Tell me more about that. So we want to, at the first point of contact, we don't want to sell to them, which is the mistake that a lot of people make. What we want to do is intrigue them. Just get them curious so that they say, tell me more. And once they say, tell me more, then they've given you their explicit permission to sell to them because they've asked you a question. You have not earned the right to sell until they ask you that question.
Yeah, and you also said that buyers of certain products were being approached as a seller, and they were hating to be sort of, like you said before, the sales pitch model. So I'm also curious to get your perspective on sort of the entrepreneurial wanting to get your message or product into the hands of people, but also get them excited about the process of getting approached to consume your product.
Okay, so as I said, the key is not to talk about ourselves. If we start off saying we are this and we have that and we're great and you just got to buy from us, nobody will care. And Kevin, you see that in your own emails when you get them on a daily basis. People say we are a apps development company. We do SEO, we do blah blah blah, and you go, okay, that's nice that you do that, but what's in it for me? So the key to engaging with your ideal customers in a proper way is actually to get them interested in what's in it for them, the outcomes you can achieve for them, and possibly where you've done it before for organizations and people and processes that look like them. So the way this whole prospecting and demand gen work is being done at the moment is all the wrong way around. Because we try to spam 100,000 people hoping that 3 will be interested. And in the meanwhile, you might get 3 new clients, but you will also potentially ruin a relationship with 99,997 others. So my argument to my clients, and I know it works because we've proven it in practice, is that if you do a better job focusing on the right type of clients and engage with them on a more individual basis, you will create much better relationships. You will not ruin your brand, and you'll get more business.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to sort of meet people where they are and read the room, don't you, Peter?
Well, you're going to treat customers like customers, not like a sales opportunity.
Well, absolutely. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on diversity and inclusion in business. As I shared with you before, Peter, I've done some work in the past for folks with disabilities and finding employment. And, one of the things that I firmly believe is that the business and entrepreneurial space is ripe with opportunity for folks with disabilities. So I'm curious and to get your perspective on what diversity, equity, and inclusion looks like in business.
Okay, so look, I can come at this from several angles. One is that what you don't know about me probably is that I sit on the board of a not-for-profit organization that looks after disabled people and in their own homes. So we provide the carers that come to you and help you get out of bed in the morning and get you dressed and showered and ready for the day. And I can see that they all have a contribution to make despite the disability. Just because they're disabled doesn't mean that they're not worthy. And a lot of people think, oh, well, if you haven't got all your faculties, then you mustn't be as good as an able-bodied person. But that's a fallacy. It's just a plain wrong assumption. The other angle is that we could come at it from a perspective of unconscious bias, whereby people just say, I don't know what's wrong with you, so therefore I don't trust you. Right, and that's just a subconscious thing that people do. They don't mean it in a bad way. They don't mean to be, evil or biased. It's just unconscious bias. So we need to combat that. But probably the biggest and best argument for having diversity in the workplace is that you want to avoid groupthink. If you have a whole bunch of middle-aged men making decisions, you're going to get agreement in the group, but you may be blindsided to an aspect that you hadn't considered, or you might be blindsided to an opportunity that you've missed because you don't have that diversity in the group. And I'm not just talking about male to female ratio, which is very topical at the moment, when we talk about equality and we mean males and females, but also, gay, lesbian, heterosexual, racial, religion, and then, by all means, disabled people as well. So the more diverse your decision-making group is, the better decisions you make.
Yeah, I always say that diversity, equity, and inclusion, or creativity breeds collaboration, doesn't it? When you have more.
Well, there's two elements there. That there's a proactive element that says what are the things that we have not considered and where there's maybe opportunities that that are open to us without us realizing. Or you can go the other way and say what risks are we not mindful of, and having more diversity in the group might actually point out some risks to you that you weren't aware of. So it's just good business, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter, I'm also curious to get your perspective on the notion that once you become an effective salesperson, how do you think your experience in business or sales can positively affect other aspects of your life? I'm curious.
Okay, so in sales, first, let's talk about what a good salesperson is, right? Because you've got the hit and run salespeople that go, Kevin, thanks for the deal. I'm off to the next one, and you won't see me again, right? So more the transactional type salespeople, and then there's the relationship builders that say, Kevin, I value your business, and I want you to come back for more. So therefore, I'm going to treat you like a customer and going to treat you in a way that makes you want to come back and do more business with me. Right? I kind of prefer the latter. I prefer the ones that want to build relationships and are there for the long run, and not the ones that hit and run. So having said that, in order to build relationships, you need to have empathy. So I need to understand your perspective, and I need to be able to think in your shoes so that I can help you make an informed decision to buy from me. Yeah. Having that empathy then helps you in other parts of your life as well. So with your family, with your relationships, with your partners, with your community, and just basically makes you a better person in life if you have that ability to step into somebody else's shoes and see things from their perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter, I'm also wondering for you, what's the best part about being in business? And secondarily, what's the best part about living life for you personally? I'm curious to get your answer.
Okay, so the best part for being in business for myself is that I'm my own boss. The worst part about it is that I don't have a big brand behind me, and I don't have a bunch of staff that will do stuff as soon as I say let's do it. But I enjoy the freedom and the autonomy, because when I was in the corporate world, I found it incredibly stymieing that you had to ask a committee to make a decision, and that you couldn't just be entrepreneurial and decide to do something and then execute it, and fail fast, if you like. How that works out in my personal life is that of course, while I'm still stressed about my business, it's my business that I'm stressed about my business, and I know whom I'm doing it for, and I know why I'm doing it. So I think it makes me a better person.
Yeah, absolutely. Provides you more perspective on life, I'm sure. And I'm also wondering about the book, about the books that you've written, and what you get out of expressing yourself through the written words. I'm wondering if you could tell me all about that process as well.
Okay, so this is the second book I've written. I've got a third book in my brain. I haven't quite got it out yet. But the first book I wrote just to prove how clever I am, in retrospect, right? so I just wanted to put my thoughts out there and make it available to others. But I didn't really think about how valuable is it to others. I was more focused on getting this stuff out of my brain and onto a page. I've since matured a little bit, maybe, and I've decided to make the second book more useful, in the sense that it actually has concrete tips and success stories that are relating to the real world, and making it much more tangible for people to not just see, oh, how clever is Peter, but actually to benefit and use the learnings that I'm giving them to enhance their own lives and their own professional lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter, tell me, you've shared with me that you have, I think, 3 kids. I'm curious to get your perspective on what sort of legacy you want to leave as a dad.
So the main thing, that's a very good question, Kevin. The main thing I wanted to, the legacy I want to leave with my kids is that whatever they do, whatever they encounter, whatever situation they're facing, they will know what is the right thing to do. Yeah. So integrity is a very big deal to me, and I wanted to instill integrity into them. And they say integrity is doing the right thing even if no one's looking, and so I'm trying to instill that into them to say it's just so that they know doing the right thing is doing the right thing. Yeah,
absolutely. And Peter, for you, how do you define happiness, both personally and professionally?
Okay, so let's start off with professionally. Professionally, it is having the freedom to do what you want to do, without impeding on other people's lives. But having that financial and lifestyle liberty to do what you want to do, not be boxed in by circumstances. On a personal level, I think I've achieved a lot in my life. My job is now to help other people do better. So that's why I've got my business, and I help people to sell more faster. That's my business motto. I help organizations to sell more faster by giving them a customer focus. And also that I can now spend more time, focus, and energy on setting my kids up to be good citizens and to contribute to the world, even if I'm no longer here.
Yeah, and you had shared with me that all of your kids are now in or leaving the teenage phase. So I'm wondering, what sort of challenges has the pandemic provided you, or opportunities to connect more with your kids from a parenting perspective?
Okay, so with my kids, they because of the pandemic, we did remote learning. So the school was conducted via Zoom, and I have to tell you that the teachers had more trouble with that than the kids. and so we had the kids here pretty much 24/7, in their own rooms with their own laptops doing their schooling, and it sort of helped us to come together more, but it also made us be more in each other's face all the time. So we developed a bit of cabin fever, and probably got each other to know more than we cared for, so on occasion. But overall, it wasn't a bad experience. Professionally, Kevin, I have to say to you that the pandemic has actually done me a favor, ironically. And that is that everybody in the world started doing business on Zoom, and your geographic location was no longer important. What became important is whether you can deliver value or not. Yeah. And so I have clients on 3 continents, in North America, in the UK, and in Australia, who don't frankly care where I am, geographically speaking, as long as I can deliver value to them through a medium like this one, like on Zoom or any other video platform. So ironically, the pandemic has actually opened up the world for me and has made me available to the world in a much better way.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter, before we wrap up, I would be remiss if I didn't ask anyone listening or watching this podcast can see clearly that you have an accent. So I'm wondering where you were born and bred, and how that has affected the person you are today.
So I live in Sydney, in Australia. And I'm down under, which is why I'm saying to you, I'm speaking to you from the future, because we're actually 10 hours ahead of you. and sometimes I joke that I know today's lotto numbers. If you want them, I can tell you what they are. But Australia is sort of a halfway point between the UK and the USA. We're probably a bit more like the Canadians than the Americans, in the sense we're a bit more conservative in business, and we value our environment, and we value our lifestyle, and we value our families. And we're probably not quite as hard-nosed in business as some of the East Coast Americans, but we're also not quite as relaxed as the West Coast. So if you know what I mean, it's a big country. It's basically the size of the USA, not without Alaska, but we only have 25 million people in it. So and we mostly live around the outside near the ocean. So we've got a few very large centers like Sydney and Melbourne, and then a whole bunch of smaller ones around the country as well, which gives us sort of a perspective that lends itself to North America, to the UK, to Canada and to Australia and New Zealand as well. And we can kind of be the best of all worlds. The other thing that happens is that because we're a large country, geographically speaking, but a small country from a population perspective, everything's super competitive. You know, for every job that's out there, for every sales opportunity that's out there, there's a whole bunch of people vying for the same thing. So it becomes super competitive. So it makes us think on our feet, and sometimes we're a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of that competitive business thinking to what the Canadians or the Americans would be about. So we're actually blazing a bit of a trail here in that sense.
Well, you know, I always like to consider myself to be a trendsetter, so absolutely. And Peter, tell me, if people want to get connected with you, what's the best way they can do that?
So my name is Peter Strohkorb. You can find me on LinkedIn. Please connect with me. I'd love to connect. My website is called peterstrohkorb.com, just my first name and my last name.com. Very, very easy to find me. If you can't find me, just Google me. I'll come up, I'll guarantee it.
Well, you've got a unique perspective on life, business, and everything in between, Peter. And I have to tell you, I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation and opportunity to engage in conversation. Your time, energy, and efforts on my behalf are most appreciated. And I want to thank you for being here today. It's most appreciated.
Now, thank you, Kevin, for having me on your show. And if anybody wants to reach out to me and just talk about their business, I'll be happy to give them my time and expertise in a free call.